Nearly 30 years ago, Arshay Cooper's life changed when he fell in love with rowing. And since then, he's used the sport to build community, teach lessons, and create opportunity. Hannah caught up with the author and rower ahead of his second book release.
Well, this is a really exciting time for you, that another book coming out.
This book titled Let Me Be Real With You, I was inspired to write it just because I spent most of my life working with young people, getting young people into rowing, and I think that we have seen the impact and the change of that. But one of the things that I've learned, especially in rowing, not just in rowing, but coaches and teachers, is that there's all these amazing people who contribute goodness to the world, but they kind of sacrifice their own self-care. And so this book is really about how do we contribute goodness to the world without sacrificing our own self-care. But it uses all of these lessons of sports and rowing.
You mentioned those parts of wellness, and that's really what you dig into in this book, right? The eight tenets of wellness. And why was that important for you to kind of break it down into those different categories for people to recognize all the areas that we need to pour into?
You hear from people, and people would say that they're drowning. They're drowning in their work, in their sport, in their relationships, in their teaching, in their social life. And so this book is really giving people the confidence to talk about it, but not just talk about moments that they're drowning or they feel like something missing in their life, but how to find it.
I want to go back here to how you found rowing in the first place, and I feel like it opened the door to so many things in your world, and honestly the world of so many that you've been able to work with. So how did you first find the sport?
Yeah, Chicago, 1997. You know, I went to a school that was in a very historically neglected community, and one day I walked into the lunchroom and I seen this boat, this white boat. And I didn't know what it was. I stared at it and I kind of walked away, and this lady tapped my shoulder and said, well, you want to join the crew team? And I'm like, crew? What is that? Like, you can't join nobody crew in this neighborhood. It's dangerous, you know? And she said, no, it's rowing. But no one on the screen looked like me, so I was like, this is not the world I'm used to. And I kind of walked away, and I came back the next day, and he was giving out free pizza for everyone who would join. And I was like, I love pizza. So I went to a practice, and every question, everything I longed for was in the answer of rowing. I didn't know how to swim, and I wanted to learn how to swim. I've never traveled, and with rowing, you travel. I didn't have any friends, and so there's a great social life that comes with that because you're part of the team. And I wanted to go from the dirt and concrete to the water and grass. Like, I felt like I needed that, and so I gave it a try.
And what are you hoping that people take away from the new book, and how do you hope that they implement it in their lives?
Yeah, I think that if I take just like the number one thing is, you know, there's a time I stepped into the boathouse, and I remember just kind of jumping over the mess. And the coach was like, you know, this is your boathouse. Why are you, like, you know, not leaving it better than you found it? And I was like, because I didn't make the mess. And what I learned from that is that sometimes we can say what goes on in that neighborhood or in that school or in that sport, it's not my responsibility, you know? But we all live here and benefit from this earth. And so if anyone can learn anything from the book, is that it's super important to leave the world, the community, your school, your family, your friends, your sport, your country better than you found it, even if you didn't make the mess, because it makes it easier for the next generation.
And by the way, that book is out today, so make sure you pick up a copy. Such an inspiring story.